Hey there, I'm Yankel, and today we're talking about breakfast sausage. ButcherBox breakfast sausage is fantastic. If you haven't had it, make sure you get some. So we prepare it really simply. It comes with salt, pepper, and fresh sage. And the thing that makes it so good is it's from pasture-raised hogs that are living in Iowa and Kansas on beautiful plains. They are very happy, and you can taste it. It's so good. So I'm gonna show you 3 ways to spice it up. The first thing we're gonna do today is maple and jalapeno. 2 flavors that work really well together, sweet and spicy. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our ground sausage and we're just gonna add our 2 ingredients to it. Now remember, it already has salt and pepper, so I don't need to season it extra. We're gonna go with a little bit of maple syrup. Now remember, when you're using maple syrup and then you're pan frying, it is gonna burn a little bit. So we're gonna do it very gently to avoid maximum caramelization. We just want a little bit of crust. Now for my jalapeno, if you love crazy spice, you can just chop it up, seeds and all, and toss it in there. We're gonna go a little bit milder today, so I'm gonna cut that in half and just cut some of the seeds out. Bring it to the edge of the board. Take out that center. Do the same thing with the other side. Remember, don't rub your eyes right after you do this. All right, we're gonna go with a tiny little dice. One jalapeno to a pound of breakfast sausage should be plenty. One other thing is when you slice jalapenos on a cutting board, if you don't clean the cutting board thoroughly, everything else you use on it is gonna be spicy, so bear that in mind. Right into our bowl. Now I'm gonna preheat my pan, and I'm using a non-stick pan. It's gonna give us a really easy sear and make it easy to flip, and then we're gonna transfer them to a sheet pan and finish them in the oven. All right, we're gonna preheat that on medium heat. Again, we don't want it too hot because we don't want the maple syrup to burn. All right, time to get sticky. I'm just gonna make all that come together. Really, the flavor of maple and breakfast sausage is a classic, so we're not going too far from that. But adding that jalapeno, to me, really takes it to the next level. It already smells incredible. I'm just gonna rinse my hands while that pan heats. All right, I'm using a avocado oil, relatively high heat oil, but not absolutely necessary for this application because honestly, we're not gonna get it that hot. My favorite thing to cook sausage in is bacon fat, by the way. So next time you make bacon, put some bacon fat aside, use that. Now, consistency is the key here. And what I mean is the size of the patties we're gonna make. That way everything will cook evenly. So to do that, I'm using a scoop. Any size scoop that you want to use is fine. This is a 1 ouncer. And basically what I'm going to do, take a big scoop, use one hand to scrape off the top. Now I have an even piece. And once my oil is hot, it looks like that oil is moving around, so I think we're good to go. I'm just going to plop it right in there. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill the pan with those, and then I'm gonna press them down so they're nice flat patties. Now we wanna leave enough room in the pan so that we can flatten them out and they won't be touching each other. We also don't wanna overload the pan too much. So I'm gonna do this in a few batches. I think we're looking at, 2 batches. All right, I've got a spoon with a nice flat surface, and all I'm gonna do is on the top of each one, gently press down, so I have a nice patty. They smell so good already. The sausage really is incredible. That ground pork is wildly flavorful. And then we add maple syrup and jalapenos, and as it starts to heat up, they just perfume the air. Good for breakfast, for sure, but any other meal as well. Turn them into meatballs. Maple syrup meatballs? What would you serve that with? I don't know. Candied sweet potato. Once I've flipped them over, I'm just gonna move them all to one side of the pan. Right now, I don't mind if they're crowded on one side because the sear is already happening, and now I can add my other ones into the empty space. We've got our last little baby sausage patty right there. Press them down. Beautiful. Now, I don't need to leave them on the opposite side for too long because they're going to be on the pan and the pan is going into the oven, so they can actually finish searing there. So I'm ready to pull them out. Perfect. We're going to go right onto the pan. So our sausage patties are seared off and they're gonna go into the oven for about 10 minutes until they're fully cooked. And then in the meantime, we'll prep our second version of breakfast sausage. For our second version, we're gonna actually skip the searing process entirely and bake it. So we're gonna go with apple and cinnamon. Really classic combinations right there. But with the baked apple and the sausage, a little bit of cinnamon goes a long way. It's gonna be incredible. So we're gonna make things really easy, and I'm just gonna grate the apple right into the sausage. Peel and all. Beautiful. I'm gonna mix it up. Half Granny Smith, half Gala. If you were to slice your apples or shred your apples or dice your apples in advance, keeping them in cold water with lemon juice, a couple tablespoons of lemon juice added to the water will make sure they don't turn brown. But since we're baking right away, it doesn't matter. All right, that looks great. There's a happy horse gonna eat these later. Now, for the cinnamon, like I said, a little goes a long way, so we're gonna go with about half a teaspoon. That should be plenty. Let's get that mixed up. Smells so good. We've got our jalapeno maple sausage baking in the oven. Apple, cinnamon, and pork. If you wanted to go crazy, you could add nuts to this. You know, some ground up walnuts would be really nice. Add some nice elements. Really, I was looking around and I said, what do I have at home? I don't need to go shopping. I've got a pound of pork sausage in the freezer. How can I amp it up a little bit? So this is what we got. All right, we've got our pan. No need to grease it up. There's plenty of fat in the pork already. Right onto the pan, and we're just gonna flatten it out. Again, we're looking for consistency, so we want a nice even spread so it cooks fairly quickly at the same speed all the way around. Perfect. That is nice, flat apple cinnamon sausage. We're gonna go into the oven with that probably about 15 to 20 minutes. And in the meantime, I'm gonna pull out our other sausage, our jalapeno maple, and see how that's doing. Ooh. They're definitely done. Let's just double check that temperature with my trusty thermopen. Pork, 145. And we are well above that, so perfectly done. We're gonna let those rest for a little bit. In the meantime, we're gonna prep our third version. All right, for our final version of the amped up breakfast sausage, we're gonna go with some really bright Asian flavors. I'm using lemongrass, and we're gonna use some fresh ginger. Now, lemongrass is fairly easy to find at most supermarkets, but if they don't have it, they will definitely have the ground up, pureed, minced version, which isn't bad either. But we're gonna use fresh lemongrass today. And the first thing we wanna do is activate all of those beautiful oils. And I'm gonna use the back of my knife, right here, the spine, and I'm just gonna whack it a couple of times before I slice it open. And you'll already see the juices starting to flow. All right, we don't need a lot for this recipe. We're only using 1 pound of breakfast sausage. So I'm just gonna cut the end off, cut it right here. Now we're gonna peel off a little bit of the outer layer. So I'm just gonna split it down the middle, and I'll pull that stiff outer layer off. And the rest of it, we're just gonna mince up. So I'm gonna quarter it one more time, right down the middle. And then nice and thin. It smells phenomenal. But I can't use the word phenomenal anymore because I use it too often. So tell me some good words for things that smell good. All right, right into our bowl. I think that's plenty. It's gonna be super fragrant. And now for our ginger. Nice big chunk. Obviously we're not gonna use all of that. Now I'm gonna use a microplane, which is basically a tiny little grater, a box grater. Using the fine edge works well, or you can mince it up, or you can just chop it. Really depends on how much you like ginger. All right, ends off. And I'm just gonna basically peel it down with my knife. Like so. And then we're gonna put our microplane right over the bowl and just grate it in there. Both of these are really strong flavors, ginger and lemongrass. So you don't need crazy amounts, but I'm going for real punch. Beautiful. All right, before we start mixing that up, I'm going to preheat our pan. Again, I'm using non-stick. I'm gonna give it a quick sear, and then we're gonna finish it in the oven. And we'll go with, same as our maple jalapeno, medium to high heat, a good high temp oil. We'll use the avocado again. All right, while the pan heats up, we're gonna mix up our sausage. Whew. The variety of smells happening right now. It's a good day to come to work. It's really nice. Really bright. And for this one, we're gonna go with little balls. So I'm just gonna pull off a chunk roll it up, and I'm gonna go right into the pan. By the time I'm done, the pan will be hot enough. Little lemongrass ginger meatballs. Now, of course, you can shape them however you want. You can just bake them. You've got 3 ways to prepare sausage now. You could grill it. Honestly, these would be phenomenal smoked if you have the opportunity to do that. Even if you just light your grill, throw them in the cast iron, put them on the grill and close it up for a few minutes, you're real good. I am gonna put these into a soup. I'll keep thinking of things to talk about. How's your day going? Have you defrosted something for dinner? If not, don't worry. We have ways of cooking things from frozen that you've never even heard of. Beautiful. We're gonna just let those simmer in the oil and the fat for about a minute more before we throw them onto the pan and let them finish in the oven. And when we do that, we're gonna actually pull out our apple cinnamon sausage because I think that's about done. Perfect. Those need about 7 or 8 more minutes in the oven. And while I'm there, pulling out our apple cinnamon sausage. Our apple cinnamon sausage is done. You can see there's a lot of liquid in the pan. Well, some of that is water from the apple and some of that is moisture from the sausage. This version makes great breakfast prep. Bake it off in advance, break it into little chunks, reheat it in the oven or a pan, throw it right into your eggs, heat it in the microwave, whatever you want to do. All right, we're gonna let that rest. We're gonna let our Asian style little meatballs finish cooking, and then we're gonna line everything up and I'll tell you what's happening. I'm just gonna break up this last hunk of sausage right here. And again, just chunks, nice little chunks. One of my favorite things to do as a chef is take an absolutely beautiful ingredient and elevate it a little bit more. And that's what we're doing here. This sausage is incredible to begin with, and we're just making it better and more exciting when we add different ingredients. So I want you to go try these 3 and then come up with something on your own. I'm Yankel, go cook some breakfast sausage.